Betrayal by family. The most devastating element here is not the accusation itself, but that it came from someone you deeply loved and trusted, your sister, and that your parents didn't even question it. Systemic failure. The police, CPS, legal system, and even your own defense counsel all failed you, presuming guilt over innocence without physical evidence or a proper trial. Psychological impact. The experience eroded your sense of self and reality. Being gaslit by the system and abandoned by family caused deep internal conflict. Life after the plea. Life on the registry is depicted not just as restrictive but dehumanizing, with small indignities adding up to a crushing existence. Contrasting lives. While you spiral, your sister's life flourishes, creating a haunting juxtaposition that adds to the pain. Suggestions. If you're continuing this story, if you're writing a novel or memoir-style piece, here are several directions to consider for the next part of the narrative. The confession. You teased early on that Anne eventually confessed. What triggered that? Guilt? Therapy? A breakdown? Did someone close to her force her to confront the lie? Redemption arc. Show what happens when the truth finally comes out. Are there legal consequences for Anne? Do your parents try to make amends? Is public vindication enough to restore your life? Psychological reckoning. Dive deeper into how you cope with the aftermath of such a betrayal. Therapy, isolation, revenge, fantasies, personal healing, exploration of justice. Maybe you pursue civil litigation or aim to reform the system that failed you. Some of the most powerful stories show victims using their pain to create change. If this is your real story, if this is autobiographical, you've done something incredibly brave by telling it. If you ever want to turn this into a written memoir, a podcast, or even a fictionalized adaptation, I can help you shape it. Whether it's justice, healing, or just being heard, you deserve space for all of it. Registration requirement. How I had to be careful about where I went. I tried to explain that I was innocent, that it was a false accusation. She said she needed time to think. The next I lost everything the day Anne told her lie. My job, my freedom, even my name. Her story didn't just get me fired or forced out of town. It made me a label, a ghost of a person. I was barely out of my teens, living in my car, moving from job to job, never staying long enough for anyone to find out. There was no future, just survival. The only light in that darkness came from a small library. The librarian never asked questions. She just left books she thought I'd like on the returns cart. Technical manuals, electronics, computer stuff. One day, she caught me looking at free online courses and sat beside me. "Education is everyone's right," she said. That moment changed my life. I started learning about cryptocurrency. It was something I could do without anyone digging into my past. Slowly, I made a little money, gained confidence, but no success ever lasted. Meanwhile, Anne was living her best life, praised. As a brave survivor, publishing articles about overcoming trauma. I watched from the shadows as she was celebrated for the lie that ruined me. Then, everything changed. One Tuesday, I got an email from a private investigator. Frank. He'd been hired by Anne's husband, Billy. Apparently, she'd been acting strange, and Billy started digging. At first, I ignored it, but Frank followed up with court documents, screenshots, and case files I'd never seen before. We met in a diner. He laid everything out. Anne's story didn't just have cracks, it was falling apart. School records, timelines, witness statements, they all contradicted her claims. She'd been caught in a compromising situation with a guy named Jake and panicked, fearing I'd tell our parents. She needed a distraction, a nuclear one, so she chose me. Frank had the proof. Texts, deleted posts, even a confession she gave. Billy, after he confronted her. It turned out she had a history of making up stories about people whenever she felt cornered. She didn't expect the lie to go so far. But once it did, She stayed silent, and I paid the price. I called a lawyer, filed for post-conviction relief, and after months of hearings, a judge finally vacated my conviction. My record was wiped clean. I thought I'd feel relieved. Instead, all I could think about was how much I had lost. Then my parents reached out. First contact in a decade. A stiff letter from my dad, a check for $50,000, like that could buy back my life. I didn't want their money. I wanted them to know the truth. I agreed to meet. At the restaurant, they apologized, cried, made excuses, said they were trying to protect Anne. I let them talk, then showed them the evidence. Watched their faces crumble as I read Anne's texts aloud. For the first time, they realized what they'd done. "We were wrong," my mom whispered. "You stopped being my family the day you didn't fight for me," I said. They offered money again. I ripped the check in half. Later, I got a letter from Anne. Just one line. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. No excuses. No attempts to justify it." I never wrote back. Freedom didn't feel like triumph. It felt like silence. But it was real. I moved to a new city, started an electronics repair business, and built a life on my own terms. My past no longer defined me. My parents, Anne, they became ghosts. Maybe one day I'll think of them and feel something, but not today. Today I'm finally free.